still in health and safety, week 12. We talked beforehand about radon, and we said it's a natural gas that comes from the ground. And if you're living in an old house with not very insulated basement, you might want to ventilate the basement so you don't get the radon coming into the living space. Most new houses are required by law to have insulated basement and ceiling. So there's a lot of information about radon from the Department of Energy. You can learn about, especially for new houses. For old houses, it's you wouldn't know if there's radon or not, and testing is very difficult. So the least you can do is just ventilate crawl space and basement. Biological particles that live in your house. There's a lot of airborne particles. They're in the air. If you leave a piece of bread in the kitchen, it will rot. It will start growing fungus. And where is this bacteria coming from? It's from the air. You don't see bacteria. You don't pay attention to it. But bacteria comes from the air. They are airborne, and they thrive on moisture. The reason the bread grow mold is because it's moist. If it's dry climate, if it's in the winter, probably it will moist slower than in the summertime. When it's humid, probably the bread will not survive 3 days outside the fridge. What does the fridge? What the fridge do is it slows down the bacterial growth. But so if you put a food in the fridge, probably you're better off eating within 3 days. After a week, probably it's growing bacteria. You should not be eating it after a week. In 2 weeks, you'll start seeing stuff. So you're eating bacteria, so be careful. Even though it's in the fridge, it's only slowing down the bacterial growth. In the freezer, it's a different story. When you freeze food, you'll slow down bacteria significantly. However, they still have expiration date. There are some bacteria that still grows in the freezer. So you can freeze for food for 1 or 2 years and still be okay. But there's always expiration. Nothing lasts forever, and bacteria does grow. So there's a lot of airborne particles. Dust mite is some microorganism, creature that live in your pillows, in your beds, in your house. And again, they thrive more in moisture. So if you probably dust your pillow and put it in the microscope, you see a lot of dust mites. They're natural, they're not really bad for you. They feed on your skin. But it's natural, it's not gonna kill you. Your body, within 8 hours, has 8 billion bacteria living on you. So basically, it's growing on you as we speak. So not all bacteria is bad, but we try to prevent that bacteria. That's why when there's a lot of viruses and sickness going on, or like strep throat, or this kind of bacteria, it's good to wash your hands because soap kills bacteria. Mold and fungi, again, it comes from the atmosphere. It's contagious from one house to another, and they thrive on very moist climate. If you have a lot of moisture in your house, probably you'll have a lot of fungi, a lot of mold growing in your house. And depending on the species of those fungi, they can do different damage. Some of them eat wood, some of them rot wood as well, and some of them will just be bad for your respiratory system. Your lungs are very moist, and you get some bacteria in your lungs. Probably you have to go into a lot of antibiotic to get rid of it. So again, it's a health risk to have bacteria and mold in your house. Some houses become condemned because they have mold, and the mold grows where you don't see it. It's between the cavities in the wall. Because the house has a lot of moisture, you'll have the right environment for mold and fungi to thrive. The difference between mold and fungi is they do not need sunlight to grow, unlike moss or algae. They don't need that, so they can grow in the dark. And they feed on cellulose, and which is mostly wood. Wood is cellulose and paper, so it gets moldy. Have you ever had a book that some water spilled on it, and you lift it aside for a while? So it will grow some mold. They love cellulose. That's why a lot of libraries have dehumidifiers. They want to keep the humidity low. If it's humid, eventually all the books will rot. So it has to be very, very low humidity. You need the humidifier, right?
Air conditioning.
Yeah, you said like, yeah. You said something about museums and stuff. They want to keep the moisture at some level. So That's, again, humidity control is very important. 50% in the winter, below 50% in the winter, and less than 70 in the summertime. So you want to keep between those two levels. If it's too dry, things might catch on fire and become very susceptible to cracking. If it's too humid, it will be very good, good environment for the ball to grow. And the spores like become airborne. You don't see it again, but they accumulate in your lungs because your lungs act like a filter for the air. So the air will come in. You're gonna pick up all those stuff and it comes out again. Asbestos, they are very common, especially in old houses. It has been the common insulation for a lot of houses and basements because it was cheap, it was very versatile, and you'll see it also in tiles. These tiles are made out of asbestos. Boilers and steam pipes, they have a lot of asbestos in it. If you look at the boilers we have, the old ones here from the 60s, they have a lot of insulation made out of asbestos. It's not bad as long as it's not airborne. So if you're gonna cut it, you're gonna need to have some proper respirator system and insulation for the area. Insulation can also have some little particles that can be wedged into your lungs. Those things, usually when you buy insulation now, they come with sheathing that contain it from those little dusty particles that get airborne. Did anybody get any asbestos in their skin? It's very itchy. It is very itchy and it's very evil. Fiberglass is very itchy. I suffer from that dearly. I was putting insulation without gloves. Actually, I was wearing gloves, but it got in my body and it was itchy for days. And I did the mistake by showering with hot water.
Yeah. Shower cold, opens up your pores and gets right in there.
That was excruciating. I had to let it hard, right? It was just in my hand, but I was touching my body and it just got everywhere. And it's very, you don't even see it, but it just gets in there. These things are evil too.
Yeah.
If you cut them and it gets into your body, good luck with that. And imagine what would it do to your lungs. So be very careful with that. Yeah, it's really bad. You'll be coughing for days. Siding also have some harmful material, so make sure you read the instruction before you put some siding. Roofing also requires training, so you know what material you're using and what is the proper way to put it in. Mishandling asbestos can lead to $25,000 per day. If you have a company that actually was mishandling asbestos, they can be fined by this much. They have a unique type of lung cancer, so they know the lung cancer is directly related to asbestos. They cannot say it was smoking, it was something else. It's asbestos related, and you can sue somebody if that happened to you. And it's a big deal. And again, you know, if something became a big deal, a lot of people fought for it. Just like Freon, just like tobacco. It took for a long, long time to get these things banned. It's gonna take a long time for like global warming to become a thing. But it's gonna take a long time. And if you know it made it, it went through a lot of loopholes to be there. High risk for smoker. Why is that? Because smokers have more fragile lungs than non-smokers. The lungs always be subjected to particles in it, carbon monoxide, tar. Your lungs always active, trying to fight the tar and clean itself. So the lung is more activated than somebody who's living in the summer, breathing clean air the whole time. Your lungs is more sensitive. It's just like if you have a wound, you're more sensitive to disease if you have an open wound. Same idea. Moisture management. So we get moisture from condensation. Moisture coming to your house. You have cold spots, condensation freezes, and because you have puddles in your house. Building deterioration. Again, a lot of houses made out of wood. Moisture will always cause the fungi to thrive, and you have some wood rots. It will also deteriorate your insulation. As well, it will ruin your drywall. It's not going to be a drywall anymore. It causes corrosion for any metallic parts. And probably that's something you see in a lot of basements because basements are below ground. We get a lot of rain here. Eventually, the dirt around your basement is going to get wet. And if you don't have proper insulation for your walls in your basement, the moisture will eventually go into your house. Does cement, is cement considered a barrier for water? No. Cement is very permeable. Water will go through it. Cement never dry completely, so you need to have a proper water barrier liquid flow. I've seen this a lot. A lot of people have their gutter terminated by the wall, and they get your water being wet, and this will go into your basement eventually into your house. So you want to terminate at least 3 feet from the house, and you always want to have a grate, a slope, so the water will come out, drain out of your house. Otherwise, you're gonna have more puddles and more problems, and your basement will be very wet, and humidity will go to the first floor and second floor, and eventually you will deteriorate your entire house material over time. So dehumidifiers is the secondary defense because they cost you money. You're gonna be running an AC 24/7 to dehumidify, so might as well fix the problem from the source and see where the water is coming from and seal your basement. It doesn't cost a lot of money to, actually it does cost a lot of money to treat your basement, but if you compare that to running a humidifier 24/7, probably better off sealing the basement and putting that in the budget. This is the wrong way to do it. Again, I've seen it a lot. You see the drain coming, there's no gutters, and things go into your house through the wall, or sometimes you have some leaky plumbing, or you have some cold water into the plumbing, and the condensation from the air will drip. You'll see it dripping from your water pipes into your basement. So go into your basement and look at the pipes and see if there's some condensation on it. And that again will be an issue, and you'll have some puddles somewhere. 3 feet, improve the insulation and venting if possible. Venting is a good idea, especially in the winter, because the humidity in the winter is lower, so venting is a good idea to get rid of the moisture, especially in days when we have a lot of rain, like these days now. Water vapor sources, laundry. Laundry will always give off a lot of humidity. That's why you want the laundry room to be isolated and vented, so you do not get a lot of the moisture inside your house. Showers have a lot of moisture and vapor, and a lot of showers, sadly, they vent into the attic. That's not a good idea. You want to vent to the outside, especially while you're taking a shower. The temperature and the pressure dictate how much vapor you have into the air. So some days you evaporate more than others, depending on the pressure. In low pressure days, probably you see your breath like freezes and like become foggy. That's because it's low pressure and water is turning into a solid particles. So sometimes you will shower and the pressure is high and there's not a lot of steam. And sometimes you see a lot of steam. You want the steam to go out so before it gets all saturated into your walls and your attic. Plants, aquariums, they all give off some heat. If you have a lot of plants in your house, you might wanna cover the soil. That's another idea. The winter is very dry. You're gonna have to water the plant every day if you do not cover the pot itself.
So
Some people,
put
huh?
sand on it?
See that?
Sorry, but is that why some people put sand on top of it?
They put rocks, sand, and some people actually put some saran wrap in the winter. That will really help a lot. Keep the plant dry. The plant itself is evaporating some of the vapor, but that's not as far as the exposure of the pot over here and all the vapor coming out. Respiration again, we said everybody give off around like half a gallon of water just by breathing. You lose half a gallon every day just by breathing. Ranges, when you cook, a lot of steam, a lot of moisture come out. Also, when you burn wood, you see a lot of steam coming out because wood is never completely dry. And also the combustion of wood will give off a lot of steam. So you'll have a lot of steam. If this attic is not insulated perfectly, probably it will drip and it will cause you to have some condensation to your basement. You can reduce the sources. As we said, there's so many ways to do it. Equalize the pressure between inside and outside. Why do we do that? So we don't have a lot of flow. Different pressure causes different flow. So if we equalize the pressure, that will make the airflow less probable. Install vapor barrier, especially in the attic and the basement. This is where we have a lot of issues. Ventilate humid indoor air and check conduits. Ventilation is very important, and people always shy away from ventilation in the winter time. Why?
Because the heat.
The heat. You don't want to lose the heat. However, you need some ventilation. There are ways to ventilate without losing a lot of heat, and I'll show you some very good heat exchangers. So ventilation is very important, especially in the bathroom and especially in your house. And again, a lot of people get sick in the winter because of lack of ventilation. Everything is completely sealed, there is no air coming in and out, and that's not really healthy. How many CFMs do we need per person? 15. 15 per person. So you need some air circulation in your house to keep the air in healthy condition. We install gasket and outlet switches, seal windows and door frames, that's the same thing with infiltration, seal floor and wall junctions. Adding ventilations will reduce the ice dams. What are ice dams? Yeah. So if your attic is not sealed enough, okay? It's not sealed enough, and you have some spots that are colder than others. What will happen? When you have snow, one spot will be warmer, and the snow will melt, and then freeze again. And it will keep accumulating, causing this kind of ice dams in your attic. So installation will be very important in this area. You want uniform temperature, you want to be all the same, either all like hot or all cold, and you want the ceiling the roof to be clear. And again, the more snow you have in your roof, the more weight it has. Snow can be very heavy. So if your ceiling is not strong enough, it's not insulated, probably you'll have some tool break and you'll get some snow inside. So the International Residential Code recommends 1 square foot of ventilation for 100 square feet of attic. You want to always ventilate the attic to prevent humidity. And if you have no vapor retardant, and 300 if you have an insulated attic. If the attic is insulated, then 1 square foot for 300. So you want to keep your attic ventilated. If you have vapor carrier. Why are we thinking about that? Because if you have snow on your roof, the roof is going to get moisture. If there is no vapor retardant or like water sealant, eventually something will get into the wood and will get more moisture in it eventually. So you need to ventilate that. Otherwise, you can have a lot of icicles in your attic. Mechanical ventilations. This is rough CFM for floor area. This is something you can use, but I'd rather use a CFM per person for how many people are living in the house. But this has nothing to do with the amount of people, number of people living in the house. It's per space. How much you need to ventilate the space, even if nobody's living in it. Why? Again, to counteract humidity, bacteria growth, fungus growth, and quality of air. Don't you sometimes go into an old apartment and you go inside of the place smells kind of musky? That's the lack of ventilation. The basement smell because lack of ventilation. Nobody ventilates the basement. The basement also has this kind of musty smells, a combination between wood and dust that stay in there. So this is the ventilation you need. This is a good idea and a good component to install in your house if you own your own house and you want to have ventilation, but you also don't want to lose all your heat. But the air temperature of the water coming out, of the air coming out is around 70, and you bring in temperature at 0, so I'm losing a lot of temperature. So this heat recovery system will run the exhaust air through a circulator here, so you can soak up the heat from the air coming out to recover some of it. And you can recover up to 70% of the temperature you're discharging from the outside. So the exhaust air will come and circulate through the heat exchanger, and it will move with the air coming in. So the air will get warmed up as it comes into your house. It's very similar to the turbocharging in your car. What does it do? It uses the muffler heat to compress the air coming into the engine and warm the air coming into the engine, because warm air has more oxygen in it than cold air and has less density. So that's what the turbo does. It uses the engine's own heat and pressure to inject air into it, and that will improve the efficiency in the car. So this does the same thing. Dehumidifier It's basically an AC, but it's designated to collect water into a basin at the bottom and drain that into a compartment or to the outside. Or you can install also a water pumping system to pump the water inside. But the energy cost is significant. If you run a small humidifier in a basement, probably that will run you around $70 a month for electricity. So that's the last resort that you can do for dehumidifying. So that's a lot of money for a small dehumidifier. And again, it's an AC, so imagine running your AC the whole time. You just don't feel the cold because it's just soaking the moisture out of the house. Okay, so this is what I have for the health and safety, and we have around 15 minutes. I want to sit with you guys and see how the project is going, and if you have any questions, please let me know. If you're done with the project, you're free to go, but I will dedicate Friday and next week for the project and for the 8 hours exam.